a sodium chloride, a salt molecule, because it gives up its oxygen molecules and it attracts free radicals.
Right.
And the higher oxygen levels also, and actually similar to an easy picture of this would be, I'm a farm boy, so I relate to this, is like a acetylene torch. An acetylene torch, if you're just going to light the torch, the acetylene itself, it doesn't have a very hot flame, but as soon as you put oxygen to it, you can cut through thick pieces of metal and you can braise with it, melt things with it. So basically you're just doing the same thing inside the body, and as we all know, or at least we should know, that pathogens cannot live in an oxygenated environment. So you're dumping in extra oxygen, basically. You're attracting free radicals. You're attracting free radicals, and you're creating an environment that pathogens cannot exist.
Right. Okay. Now, you kind of talked about the scientific part of it and how the whys it works. Now let me use my very own personal experiences using your advanced oxygen therapy. When Dr. Wil and I first met, I filled out his questionnaire, which helped him to figure out some of the, or a lot of, the issues I've had throughout my life because of a drug that I was put on as a child that is, now a deadly drug they have discovered. But it did a ton of damage to my body. And anyways, the first thing Dr. Wil had me do was to use the advanced oxygen therapy along with his minerals and microorganisms to cleanse my body internally. And I found that twice I've gone in to have these cancers removed because there were so many of them that there wasn't really a choice. It was to cut them out and then we'll treat them from the inside and use Dr. Wil's products both internally and externally. Now, what I did was a couple of days, about a week, prior to each of the surgeries I've had, I took additional of the advanced oxygen therapy and made sure that my body was completely oxygenated. I did extra of the minerals. I took extra of the microorganisms to make sure that my digestive tract and everything else was working properly and whatnot. Then, after the surgery, I did the same thing. Now, for the first couple of days, was having no skin in the area. I mean, literally, guys, they removed all the skin, the last one, from my elbow all the way down to my fingertips. And what I did was the first couple of days, it stung real bad, and we had to leave bandages on because of the amount of bleeding. Once we clotted and began forming a scab, I used diluted at first down the advanced oxygen therapy, also known as AOT, and I would soak the wound with the advanced oxygen therapy, and I did that about 4 times a day, just using gauze and running it over my arm and letting it just sit there, and just kept doing that for about 20 minutes each time. And I tell you what, for somebody who's had every bit of skin removed from their arm, I only now have about 8 little areas, not even the size of a dime, where I do not have brand new skin. And another thing that went on is when I had the cancer cut out of my leg. I was doing the same thing, and it was healing, and it was doing awesome, But one night I went to bed, and I woke up in the middle of the night with pain in my leg, and I thought, this is really not good, you know. I hadn't had any pain. Why am I having pain all of a sudden? Well, of course, my dog, my German Shepherd, had gone to bed with me. He was on the bed, and he was laying on my leg, which cut the oxygen blood flow off to the sore. Well, when I kicked the blanket off, oh my God, the smell that came out from under that blanket was just absolutely horrendous. I'd never smelled anything like that in my life. When I got up immediately, I discovered the dog, you know, that's what he had done. He had cut off the oxygen supply. That's what the pain was. Well, of course, the first thing I did was I'm going, oh my God, what, oh geez. I mean, this thing was black, and it was awful. I sent a picture to Dr. Wil, and I'm sure he'll have it up on his website very soon. Anyway, I used, I called the doctor, and I immediately, of course, first thing when Dr. Wil was awake, called him. But I couldn't go back to bed. I was so worried and so scared about this. And so I started researching and looking at everything up. And gangrene had set into that sore in just those few hours. I called the surgeon, told them what had happened. They said go to the ER. I went to the ER. Well, that, as we all know, is a joke and a half. All they wanted to do is give me antibiotics, which, by the way, I did fill the prescription, but they're still sitting up on the shelf, not even taken out of the bag yet. The bag's still stapled shut. But I figured that way, you know, I'm not going to have any issues, you know, and because I'm raising my grandkids, and I don't want to risk anything to, you know, that I could lose them. So that's why I filled the prescription. Anyways, on my way home, I called the physician and told them what a joke it was trying to go to the emergency room. So she says, well, what about, have you tried vinegar soaks on it? And I thought, huh? So I called Dr. Wil. I told my allopathic surgeon, I said, you know what? I am not going to do anything unless I have spoken with Dr. Wil first. So I did. And Dr. Wil says, well, yeah, that would work. So what we did was we used the vinegar, apple cider vinegar, half water, half apple cider vinegar, warm, soaked that, and then afterwards I put the AOT on, the advanced oxygen therapy. And guys, I kid you not, and Dr. Wil has pictures, within 24 hours there was no sign of gangrene. So, you know, I can only say the most highest things regarding Dr. Wil's advanced oxygen therapy. That's from my personal experience. So, Dr. Wil, go ahead, because I know I sent you the pictures, and you and I have talked a lot, and we worked pretty close together.
Yeah, they'll be up this in the next month on our website when we're updating it. So, yeah, that's real. We've used that quite a bit with gangrene, mostly with diabetics. I've had a couple people find out about us after they've lost a few toes. And one fellow actually had 3 of his toes and part of his foot cut off, and then gangrene had set in. Well, we worked with him, and it took less than a year to help him getting his diabetes taken care of, and then the gangrene was the first thing to go away, and then we concentrated then on the diabetes, because the diabetes is there's really no reason for diabetes if you're willing to do some changes in supplementation, because it's not that difficult to get rid of it when you understand what it is and then what's needed to change in order for it to stay away.
Right. Well, I tell you, I know that by changing and adding nutrients, minerals, vitamins, a lot of different herbal things help with diabetes. Because I know with my mother, I was just really getting into studying natural medicine and reading about it and learning about it. And I had heard of a few things, and I said, Mom, I said, try this. Because, I mean, she was on insulin. She had multiple strokes. She was in bad shape. I mean, she literally had one foot in the grave and the other slipping in a banana peel.
Hey.
And I told her, I said, Mom, try this. Just try it. I said, I'm not telling you to go off your insulin, but try this and see what happens. And I gave her, I think it was hawthorn berry. I can't remember what all I gave her, but there were like 3 different natural herbs that I had given her. And every week when she would go in and see her allopathic doctor, they would wean her far and further off her insulin. And of course, I changed different things within her diet, gave her, you know, you do this instead of that, helped her to basically just change things. And I mean, it was awesome. Awesome. I mean, it was too bad, of course, by the time we got all of this, you know, it was really too late for her because she already had stage 4 liver cancer, and we didn't know about that until not even a month before she died. But other things were turning around, and we were so excited. And somebody's asking, is AOT like MMS? Yes, it is, but the AOT is created specifically by Dr. Wil. And,
yeah, we make that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we don't use it like Mr. Humble does because Mr. Humble likes to use it in a little more aggressive fashion, and we don't. You know, I personally don't really care for the Herxheimer reaction, so in figuring out how to use it to keep any Herxheimer reaction down to an absolute minimum is our goal, because we really don't want to disrupt your day, because you know, the economy's not the best, and we certainly can't miss work because you're sitting on the toilet all day.
Right, exactly.
So we've been able to pretty much help you get it into your day to be the maximum benefit with the least amount of healing type reactions or Herxheimer reactions taking place.
Dr.
And for those that don't really care to use that product or have had bad or negative experiences using that product, there is a lot of other products that we use. We're not bound to just use that, but we have found that it is extremely a broad spectrum type of a pathogen killer, and it works very effective for those that want to use it. And there again, there's so much bad press. I mean, I knew Jim Hobble back when he was actually in the States, and the FDA had made so much trouble for that man and his associates, like Daniel with Project Green Life, who was a very large distributor of that product, of the MMS product, that the FDA has raided Daniel's place last year or the year before, and all kinds of problems. And now Jim has left the country, and I think Daniel is in the process of putting the FDA back in their place.
Oh, good.
And it's horrible what they're doing. And like, there's supposed to have been one person that died using MMS.
Right.
But there was a bunch of donations, and people had donated and brought that case into court. And that whole case was lost. That death of that lady that was not due to MMS.
Right.
And that was in a court. That was decided by a judge or a jury, and there was evidence presented. And so, but there's a lot of bad press. I mean, you can find that about me. You can find bad press about anybody.
Oh, heavens,
if you dig
yes.
hard enough.
Oh, heavens, yes. It doesn't matter what kind of a saint you are, because I tell you what, never mind, I'm not even going to go into that one. Anyway,
yeah, right.
There's another question that says, how does oxygen therapy interact with autoimmune disorders like psoriasis, etc.? Also, the flesh-eating bacteria like necrotizing fasciitis? I don't know if I pronounced that right.
I think I know what you're talking about. And actually, we use a lot of other things to go along with. I mean, advanced oxygen therapy is only one component that we use. So it's not. It just happens to be a really good pathogen killer, an immune booster. And regarding to psoriasis and stuff, it works great.